Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us this morning on News Central Television for the next 3 hours. We will be exploring some of the stories, the breaking news. Yes, there indeed are breaking news, and you get to hear some of them this morning when we're handling wake-up conversations. But you're welcome to the show. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga Pura. Sometimes I feel the 3 hours is not enough. We should get into Jasiri's time and do like 5 or 6 hours. But, we have to help other people be relevant.
5 or 6 hours.
No, they have to work.
I see.
And they also bring a different angle. But if it's left to me, because of the love I have for our viewers, and I just love working with you guys, it would have been 5 or 6 hours. But man no be God, and man no be GMD. So,
Wow.
I don't have powers. But welcome to Breakfast Central. You know why I'm this excited, because, it doesn't feel like work anymore. I'm with my brother and sister every morning. I will go through all the big stories, insightful conversations. It's like Gen Zs would say. Breakfast Central is given, and it's popping heavy.
There's one Gen Z slang.
What is it?
Purr.
No, I won't sit down.
I see what you guys are doing there. Anyway, welcome to Breakfast Central. As usual, I am, standing on existing protocols by my colleagues, and I feel really elated to be here. It's Tuesday, day 2, and the stories already are starting to look very juicy, spicy. From the political angle, of course, we're going to touch on that, don't forget. But on Wake Up Conversations, we'll take a look at some of the stories and bring in our angles to it in terms of our opinions, and not forgetting we also try to separate what it is and what it is not.
Very true.
And that's what we're about to do this morning. So I'm going to give Olive the gauntlet to go ahead.
No, I think Benga
But
before then, I need to give a special shout out to Benny.
Yes.
I need to give a special shout out to Benny for this coffee. The coffee is given. It's given everything it's meant to give. Thank you, Benny. You may now proceed.
Okay. Now we start off our wake-up conversation with the third citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm talking about no other person than the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and he says poverty is not a crime. It could be virtue from God. And this has led to lots of reactions on social media, and people are saying, if it's a virtue from God, why didn't you collect that virtue of poverty? But I do agree with him that poverty is not a crime. It's also an indictment on the elite class, the political ruling class. We can't start from 1960, so we'll start from 1999. But let's take a listen, hear it from the horse's mouth, or rather the Senate President's mouth, and then we'll come back to dissect the issue, because like every debate, there are both sides to a story. Yeah.
And you have a man who died, as a man today, the Pope, who was worth only $100, showing that yes, you cannot worship God in splendor, and that the best way to worship God is to worship God through self-sacrifice for others. So the message is very clear that Nigerians should love one another, and that poverty is not a crime, and that poverty could sometimes be a virtue of God, and that whatever you have, you should be able to share with your brothers.
Now, just to mention that was an interview he granted on the Nigerian Television Authority, and it was being asked, I think it was something in the line of lessons he learned from the life of the Pope, and he was reflecting on the life and times of the Pope, talking about how, the Pope was not fixated on money, how much he had at the end of his life, and how at the end of the day you can pick a lesson that poverty is not a crime. Nigerians, of course, have taken that and said, this lesson that you are saying that the Pope's life has taught you, did you learn this lesson yourself? Especially because the Nigerian legislators have always been at the forefront of controversies regarding so many conversations from budget padding to not being empathetic about the plight of the people.
Also,
recall that this same senator
functions.
Recall that this same speaker was the one who said they would receive prayer in their emails, of course, talking about money at a time when Nigerians were crying about the state of the economy.
And are still crying.
But what he's saying, like Benga said, is not a lie. Poverty, and they would argue with me, because I worry that whilst I do not want us to become the poverty capital of the world, whilst I do not want us to be known for poverty, because there's more to Nigeria, but even the holy books say the poor will always be among you, right? But the challenge now is that I mean, the other day we saw a preacher that said God does not associate with the poor. Jesus did not associate with the poor, which is a blatant lie. You know, it's heresy and
That's a hustler.
it's a blatant lie. Jesus was here for the rich, he was here for the poor, but this is not a religious discourse. What I'm saying is, people need to understand that there are procedures and processes. Even when you want to make wealth, there are rules. You're spending, you're earning. We need to kill that desire for overnight success, the desire to just have everything. I think the major reason why Nigerians are attacking him will be the fact that lawmakers have been in the eye of the storm. The Senate president in particular has been in the eye of the storm for several controversies, and they're saying, we hope that you have also learned this lesson that you're preaching.
I mean, according to MBS data, 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. And that's coming from a government agency. So you would know that figure is very conservative. There would always be poor people, but what is the government doing about it? Where are the social safety nets? You look at a country like Norway, for example, they have the biggest sovereign wealth fund. They planned for the future. They didn't spend the excess money they made when on rainy days. They planned, and that money is used to take care of the poor and vulnerable in society. So if you're an orphan in Sweden, in Norway, most of the Scandinavian countries, you'd rather there's almost zero homelessness in those countries. So where are the poor people? That's a responsibility of government. It's a lottery that we're born into, the family we're born into, but I don't think God intended to put us on this earth to suffer. As a result of circumstances, some people end up in the lower rung of society, but it doesn't mean they're less human. So it's a duty for government, where people pay taxes, for a country that is blessed with human and material wealth. Yes. It's an indictment that children, if we drive around now, they are hawking in traffic when they should be in school. And then in that same country, people are driving cars that were not manufactured to even ride in the midst of such poverty. You see Lamborghinis, Bugattis. I'm not saying you don't have a right to what you should spend your money on, but there's something not right, especially if you're a public official. It should reflect. Learn from Captain Ibrahim Traore and Thomas Sankara.
Great words, Benga. I mean, I think for me, I've always said it's the timing. Our leaders should best learn timing. And timing, in this case, simply means before you make certain statements, you should be able to read the room. If you're talking about the late Pope, you might also mention, okay, about the poor. Have you also mentioned other things? There are other aspects of the entirety that you could talk about.
Speaking up for the vulnerable.
Exactly.
And he could have still talked about that poverty without saying what he said.
Exactly. So what I'm going to say is, I mean, was the Senate President wrong in his statement? The answer is no. He made his points clear, and he was, of course, reflecting on having gone to the burial and so on and so forth. But for Nigerians, that timing is wrong. And I think for the leaders, they need to really understand that for you to put something out there, you need to be able to understand what's the mood of Nigerians right now. Think about it. It's like the solar panel issue. You're trying to ban the solar panel, of course, which is going to be one of our conversations today. You're trying to ban the solar panel, but you're also trying to install that in Aso Villa. Not just that, you're also ensuring that, while we put this ban, the hospitals don't have it. So it's a case of, we need to think carefully before we make certain remarks. But then again, he said it, and Nigerians just have to deal with it. Don't forget that this is the same person who said, while you people are protesting, I would be in my house eating. And the same person said, if hunger catch you, anywhere you see where people are eating, you should do what? Join them and eat. So it's been many remarks too many. It's been one remark too many.
I think that he needs a communications person.
Maybe the Senate
I mean, did they even listen to the advisors? The Senate, the President, former political advisor, senior special advisor on politics, said he only saw Mr. President once. He didn't even have time to give the President advice. He's been giving interviews recently. He said Mr. President is very insular. Those around him prevent him from getting advice. It's only his inner
I think Senator Ali Ndume also made that remark as well. That he's been stopped many times, not able to see the President.
You think just because they appoint you as an SSA, they say you should come and eat breakfast, that you can be giving opinion? You better observe
Wake
table
up.
man. You beter observe table manners, my sister.
Well, anyway, still speaking about poverty, I'm sure you have the next story.
Talking about poverty, Mr. Peter Gregory Obi recently had a conversation, an engagement at the Johns Hopkins, you could say, where he talked about a lot of things. Permit me to start this way. Mr. Peter Obi is known to be very vocal, especially using numbers, digits, and voices.
And he says it
I think
as
his
it is.
second name should be the data man. You know, after all, they say
And
statistics.
statistics. We go chop. Great minds, brother.
Statistics we go chop, but then again, we see what the statistics is saying now because we are eating it now.
Yeah, data is the new gold.
Data is now telling you, listen, you are going to be in trouble if you don't do this, if you don't do that. But then again, let's go back to the conversation. So he had an engagement there at Johns Hopkins, and one thing he did was he painted a gloomy picture of Nigeria. He talked about Nigeria's economy, how fragile it is, what it was before. I was able to watch the video, just a little clip and so on and so forth. And while he made those statements while having that conversation, it didn't go down well with some people. And they felt that, listen, you are demarketing Nigeria. Now, for those who are wondering, when you demarket a brand or a product, it means that you make it unsellable. You make it, you put it in a state where even investors would be scared. They have to do extra due diligence before they come through and say, listen, I want to put my money where my mouth is. And what Mr. Peter Obi, in quotes, was said to be doing was to demarket Nigeria, bring down his value, and he shouldn't have been doing that. Who was saying this? It's the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who came out and said, listen, you don't do that. And he went ahead to point his own data as well. That
his track record as governor of Anambra State.
And you should mention the title of that. He said, factually addressing Mr. Obi's criticism of Nigeria at Johns Hopkins
Absolutely.
University.
This is a Peter
You would
Obi's
expect
tweet.
him to defend Nigeria, not
Exactly.
lead the messenger. Let's talk about
Exactly. And we're going to look this clearly. I'm going to look at this clearly, guys. Yesterday, I had the honor of visiting California State University, Sacramento, where I was warmly received by the president of the institution, Dr. Luke Wood. You know, he said, following the reception, I had the pleasure of meeting Professor Nicole Fox, author of After Genocide, a deeply moving reflection on the pain of conflict and enduring hope of reconciliation. And then he went ahead that they had a conversation. He talked about displaced persons and their families and loved ones. They also spoke about violence, conflicts, criminality. And then he shared some powerful initiatives where they had conversations about it. And at the end, he said he was truly inspired by the vision and compassion behind the projects that they talked about. And he said it includes leadership that Nigeria needs. And he sees value in every human life and believes in the second chances. But this is from Peter Obi. But then again, like we said, the governor of Lagos State responded and gave his headlines, factually addressing Mr. Peter Obi's criticism of Nigeria at Johns Hopkins University. He stated the date. He said he made the unflattering remarks, not just about the incumbent Nigerian government, but also about Nigeria. I also find Mr. Obi's pattern of behavior disturbing. When prominent Nigerians go overseas, they ought to project Nigeria positively. They do not have to do that for the government, but we all owe a duty to market Nigeria on the global stage rather than demarket her. That is what true patriotism is about. But then again, this is a story, guys. I don't know what your take is before, I drop my little 2 cents.
Can I go first?
Please go.
Go ahead, please.
You know, we often have this ostrich mentality. You think if you don't talk about a problem, the problem would disappear. I remember the BBC Welcome to Lagos documentary so many years ago. It should be more than 10 years ago. It was about a young man that was working in a dumpster. The dumpster near 7-Up. Ojota.
Yeah.
Yes, and they did a documentary. They followed him to Ajegunle. His name is Vocal Slender.
Yeah, Vocal
he's
Slender.
doing very well
I
today.
remember
He
him.
has a initiative, back to school initiative, and what have you. You know, I went through the comments, and Nigerians were like, "Why is the BBC highlighting this? And why didn't they show parts of Banana Island? How many of you live in Banana Island?" The fact that we still have a Vocal Slender in society, it's someone that feeds off working in a dumpster, in a dump site, is an indictment for us. We should strive to make everywhere livable and get people into meaningful jobs so that when they come with their cameras, regardless of their motive, they won't have those sort of things to show. And that's my mentality. I remember when I was in university, I had a couple of Nigerian students in my class too, and anytime I say the truth about the condition of things in Nigeria, like, look, we still have power cuts, they'll be hitting me that, that you are falling our hand in front of all this Oyibo people, that they would look at it. Look, the internet is there. They know the true state of things in the state. It's not in my position to demarcate Nigeria. I could sell Nigeria for all, like a salesman, the best salesman in the world. Once they go do their research, the data is there, CIA fact book is there, the statistics are there. They will know the true position of things. I think Mr. Obiskwe is out of, I mean, he's a politician, so there, I understand that.
The political undertones.
The political undertones, like, yes, you're not supposed to, I understand the politics of it, but the fact is that things are not right. And I agree with him. Take a drive around all the teaching hospitals. If you say a school is, if you say a country is working, go to the prisons, go to the hospitals, and go to the schools, hospitals, and prisons. If you're satisfied with the state of things you see there, then it means things are fine. On the other hand, for Mr. Sanwo-Olu, I look at Lagos. It's I've seen videos of the drones are always nice from the top. But calm down.
Like you said that yesterday.
You cannot smell, the drone cannot show you what is smelling. And then the potholes. A lot of Lagos needs, roads need resurfacing. It's so bumpy. Do you know how much people spend on shock absorbers?
And then they say you come for roadworthiness.
The darkness in Lagos, major roads, I'm not talking of Inner Lungu. The major roads are not lit at night. And then you keep bragging about being center of excellence, smart city, you're giving, I mean, these are basics. And if you can't fix your basics, I don't think you have any right to criticize Mr. Obi. So that's my 2 cents.
Olive, you want to go? I think I'll go last.
Well, I think, to be honest, again, when it comes to facts and data and facts will always show.
They don't lie.
They don't lie, right? IMF has had its prediction. The World Bank has its prediction. So I don't think there's anything that is further from the truth from, you know, when we see, and even the condition, beyond what the data says, what is the experience of the average Nigerian, the everyday Nigerian? I think those will point to where we are and what, you know, projections are for where we're headed to. I also still, so to be honest, I understand both sides of the argument. I understand His Excellency Peter Obi giving the facts and the data and saying this is the current position of what is. I also understand Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's concerns regarding, quote-unquote, demarketing Nigeria. However, I remember when Kemi Badenoch came to limelight, the first week when everybody was bashing her and saying she's demarketing Nigeria, why is she saying this? A lot of people jumped at it and said she's demarketing Nigeria, why she's speaking so poorly of Nigeria. At the time, I remember the first thing I said was, wait, but what she's saying, is it a lie? She's telling lies. She didn't tell lies, right? So the only thing is, at the end of the day, after that initial one, it seemed like she enjoyed the buzz from the attention she was getting. And then she kept overdoing it, and it absolutely wasn't necessary. So I do say, I hope that this is a wake-up call to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to everybody, to know that, look, we don't need to apply makeup on something that already has acne and pimples. Right now, let's get to the point of fixing what is. Let's get to building Nigeria to a place where we are proud of. Yes, every country has its challenges. Every nation has its challenges. There are slums everywhere. There's still countries that have poor schools, even though, or poor education system, even though they're doing well. But I hope that this is sort of a wake-up call. So it's not a thing of we're trying to defend personalities and reputation, and it's an attack against individuals, but we can build Nigeria to a place where we are proud to call it home and proud for our children to inherit, inherit what we've left behind.
I mean, great points, guys. I think you've taken all the words out of my mouth. I think that's pretty much every single thing, you know. Yeah, that's it. What else do you want to say?
Okay.
You know, I think that's it.
Let's move to the third story. It's one that, you know, cost a number of us. It was a heart-wrenching report when in 2022, April of 2022, news about singer Osinachi, a number of us remember the song, she collaborated with Prosper and Ochimana, and then she did the song Ekweme. Her name is Osinachi, and she's a gospel artist that came to limelight after that collaboration. Unfortunately, she passed on the 8th of April 2022. Reports filtered in that her husband, Peter Nwachukwu, was behind her killing. Now, this reports have then been substantiated by court judgment. Her husband, Peter Nwachukwu, has been found guilty of killing his wife, Osinachi, and has now been sentenced to death. The reports surrounding this, I mean, if you go through the trial, you will see that they found him guilty of culpable homicide in connection with the death of his wife on April 8, 2022. He was arraigned on the 3rd of June, 2022, faced a 23-count charge filed by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. And the charges include culpable homicide, spousal battery, cruelty to children, and criminal intimidation. Now, during the trial, 17 witnesses were called, including 2 of his children, or 2 of the deceased children as well, and they tendered 25 exhibits. He testified that, you know, in his defense, and he presented 4 additional witnesses. But if you listen to some of the experiences, the children will talk about how he was beating her. People talked about how he used to beat her up, how she would work, and then she wouldn't even earn money for herself. The money goes to him. So basically, it was a case of monkey they walk, baboon they chop.
So sad.
It wasn't just physical abuse, it was financial abuse, it was domestic abuse, abuse on all fronts. And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call to women, to men, first of all to women, to please ask and tell you that if you are in a marriage, you're in a situation where you're being battered, where you're being abused, get help. Get help. Osinachi's story could have been very different today, and it's so sad. In all of this, it's just unfortunate that she's lost her life. She's not here today. Now the man is also sentenced to death. And the children, the trauma that these children will have to live through. The fact that, first of all, they've lost their mom in the most despicable way, and now their father is going away too. It's so much, it's too many layers of trauma that could have been avoided if for some reason she either left or, you know, people held the man to account.
Yeah.
And I think society needs to do better for women, to hold men to account. If you know somebody who is abusive, who is violent, hold them to account. Men, hold your colleagues, hold your friends, hold your brothers to account. The church also needs to stand for more people. Religious institutions, stand for these women. I'm hoping that people can be more vocal to speak out. And the reason why a number of women don't speak out is because when things like this happen, the woman is blamed. So a woman is being abused, and the first thing you ask is, why? What did she do? Why did you do that? For him to beat you, you must have done something. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes both ways as well. I think it's similar to the men. For men who equally face abuse.
Nobody deserves abuse.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a video on my social media page where I talked about it as well, where men are being abused and then they're being told, you are a man now. Why would you, what's wrong with you? But this case, we're not talking about the man. We're talking about a woman who had impacted a lot of people's lives. I remember when this story broke, I think we talked about it at breakfast in our former studio. And I couldn't but imagine what it looked like. You're working, and there's somebody who's sitting down. For me, it was a case of slave and master. How much did you make today? How much did they pay you? Put the money here. I said, put it. So while she was out there, the only joy she had was when she had the microphone. But you could even tell, if I was to write a movie script on her,
how she sang,
you could tell that any moment she possibly was rounding up her singing, her voice would crack to the wake of the fact that
I'm going back
to that monster. And the monster himself was also trying to deny the entire thing. Please forgive my word as monster to all those watching. We're sorry. But now that the court has indeed said, yes, you did it, I think we can now add some acronyms to certain actions. And let's, I think it's also time we, Olive Benga, I think it's time we separate these actions and call these people out on who they are. I always say this: if you call people insurgents, you call them rebel forces, you call them rebels, you call people prostitutes, you call people, what do you call one who definitely continues to carry out these acts that are not part of being
He's an abuser.
I feel the word abuser is too mild. It's too mild for me. Abuser is too mild. Oh, he's an abuser. Because guess what? An abuser could work with his head up. Oh, abuser will be like, oh, it's fine, I was just an abuser. When you call somebody a monster, you're
calling them what they actually are.
Everybody will be like, wow, what did he really do?
Exactly.
Let them know that these people have this tainted name on their backs, so that they can actually say, oh, I don't want to use this name. I don't want my children to remember me for this. But my worry, finally, guys, is what will happen to the children? If we were to be abroad, I would say the government would have taken charge of the children, the family. They will say, okay, come, they put you into the social programs and say, let's take care of the family because of this case.
And even at that, those ones are not even without, they are not fail-proof, right? In some cases,
Yeah.
the children
It's
still
still
grew up a
a
bit
tragedy.
broken. So I don't.
Yeah.
I really worry about the children. My heart goes out to them, and I would have said that this is justice for Osinachi, but justice cannot bring her back. Justice would have been her being here with her children, to be able to raise her children, to be able to live her life and have her dreams. But all of that has been cut short because somebody felt he was, all powerful and had the rights to treat her in a way that no human being deserves to be treated. It's really unfortunate.
Very sad.
Very sad. And just to anyone out there to mention, I know that Lagos State has facilities to help women and men too who are going through sexual and domestic abuse. So please reach out to the Lagos State Sexual and Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, the DSVRT. You can Google them. Their numbers are out there. The Domestic Sexual Violence Response Team will reach out to you. They will help you. I know because I've personally taken somebody there. And I remember Titilari Revival. She was very supportive, very helpful. A young lady who had just been raped by her partner. And these things sound like, it sounds sometimes theoretical until you then encounter it one-on-one. You know somebody it's happened to. So we need to do better as a society. We need to shame people who abuse other people. We need to speak up more for women. And we need to stop shaming survivors. When a woman comes out to say she was raped or she was abused,
especially
and
those
then
in
start
the
asking, what did you wear?
The forces,
what did you wear?
security agents.
Maybe you gave him. I mean, I saw a story in South Africa of a 15-year-old girl.
Wear shorts?
And why you wear short clothes? A 15-year-old girl in South Africa that was raped by a policeman. Why? Because she told him that he had nice eyes. So he went out, came back and took advantage of her, even when she kept telling him to stop. And his response was, it was an invitation to treat. What is this nonsense?
And then you say that guy is just an abuser? He's a monster.
There have, of course, been reactions to this. And let's take a few reactions on social media to the report of Peter Nwachukwu being confirmed guilty by the courts and being sentenced. Let's put up some of the reactions. Brighter Daffy says, gospel singer, that's of course, right? Exactly, Delta State. Gospel singer Osinachi's husband Peter Nwachukwu sentenced to death by hanging. What I know is that before the court will arrive at this judgment, there must be enough evidence to prove that indeed the singer was suffering from domestic violence. My message is this: get away before it's too late. Get away before you lose your life. May her soul rest in peace. Amen. And that's a very important message. Please get away. Instead of sentencing Osinachi's husband to death by hanging, why not place him in task as a punishment that he will provide every needs of those children every month? Give him a task and let him work in providing every need of those kids. Hanging the man is multiplying the suffering of those children. This is from Emeka Gift Official.
I don't agree with Emeka.
I don't agree with you, Emeka, because he would do it to someone else.
Someone else, Etapit has responded to Emeka saying, I don't know who will take care of the children now. Nigeria that can't take care of street life.
That's my worry.
Will now take care of children that mother and father are dead. The children are in for a challenge till infinity. Nigeria is not a sensible country.
Well, this is someone, you said this is the marketing as well, and I think the Benga has given the perfect answer. I mean, I just learned from my colleague.
I think this is the most important one,
go
please.
ahead,
I think we should take this tweet.
Yeah, go on.
Otome Princess Okoko says, in the end, divorce is better than death. It's better than living in toxicity. It's better than forever traumatizing your offspring. Praying for a toxic and abusive partner is foolishness. Now, the children Osinachi endured for are left alone, traumatized and stigmatized. Responding to her, Goldman, Steve says, they became orphans. If they didn't go for therapy, getting married will be difficult for them. And if any does, there's every tendency that there will be a pattern repeating itself. Again, I want to re-emphasize that last message. Please, divorce is better than death. Divorce is better than death. It's better than losing your life. We should stop stigmatizing people that are divorced, or people that are about to get a divorce, or people who have cried out because of abuse. Because if we don't stop, this cycle will keep repeating itself. The people will go to their family members and their loved ones and say, I'm being abused, and they'll say, manage, endure, stay for your children.
I can't speak for the children, but I'm sure the children don't even see him as a father anymore.
The children give testimony.
All this pity that, people on X are pitying that they'll become orphans. Because he's been in detention for the last 2 years. How has he been providing? How have the children been surviving?
Maybe
I'm sure there are family members that are looking after them. Then on the flip side of things, Nigerian law, when last did they carry out a death sentence?
I was going to say that. He will be on the death row for a long time.
Was killed. It's almost, we have partnerships with different international organizations, and the global best practices now is they put a moratorium on death sentences.
Yes.
So they hardly
just life imprisonment.
But I mean, who knows? Maybe we might have a president or attorney general of the federation
That will grant him a pardon.
that might, no, not grant him a pardon, that would carry out that sentence.
Right.
But
I don't think
it's unlikely.
Yeah. I honestly don't see, how this is going to turn out differently for him. It's just, as a society, we also then now need to start thinking about the fact that some marriages, unfortunately, would go apart like this because people will still abuse, unfortunately.
Yes,
so
and
we need to
even
provide for the children.
you're even talking of marriages. A young Nigerian, I think, has been deported, or what's the name? He's been extradited to Nigeria. He calls himself Killer Boy. Killing his girlfriend.
Yeah, and then bragging about it.
Femicide, it's a big problem.
It is, it
Nigeria.
is. But when
We
you
have
talk
to do
about it, they'll say,
something
why are you making it about women? You are killing men too.
It's okay.
It is the truth.
It's okay.
But anyway, let's move on from this conversation again, just to say our heart goes out to the family of Osinachi. We hope that this judgment in some measure brings you some sort of comfort that the court and the government hasn't in a way failed Osinachi. And we're hoping that we can rally support for the children and that the families can ensure that, if there's any way that they can reach out to Nigerians, if they need the help for the children, that will be done.
That's right. Well, let's bring to you our top stories this morning here on Breakfast Central and let you know what we are ready to go into for this hour and, of course, the next 2 hours. This morning on Breakfast Central, we would be addressing economy impact on solar panels. Don't forget that the government is planning to ban. Analyzing Delta State political defections, yesterday was a big party for all who defected, and they said they defected because of find out how and why. Early 2027 campaign distracts governance, sparked controversy. People are indeed also talking. Governor Oborevwori takes control of APC structure. I wonder what happens to the others who were there before. And we have the newspaper front pages, which would be at 9 a.m. So keep tabs with us. Breakfast Central continues in a moment. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Delta State has long been a stronghold for the People's Democratic Party, PDP, but recent defections have sent shockwaves through the party. Former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa and current Governor Sheriff Oborevwori both jumped ship to the APC officially on Monday. A move former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa described as a bold and strategic move for him and other stakeholders in the state.
These defections come at a critical time with the 2027 elections looming. The PDP is grappling with internal divisions, and these high-profile exits, many believe, could weaken its grassroots network. Joining us for this discussion is former advisor to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, Comrade Jude Imagwe. Good morning, Comrade. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, and thank you for having me. In a response to why they decided to move to the APC, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, explained how they're doing it for the people of Delta State because they need to be connected to the resources in Abuja, and that he was in the opposition for the longest time, but not much was being able to be achieved because he kept fighting. But now he doesn't want Governor Sheriff Oborevwori to keep fighting because the governor is working, so they need to be connected to the people in Abuja. Do you agree with this perspective?
Well, first, I thank you for having to take the time to x-ray the happenings in the political space of our dear country. As unfortunate as things are, we'll always wish to respect people's right of expression, right of association, and right of where they choose to want to belong to. But in exercising that right, there are certain statements that I will presume to be unguided. There are certain statements I presume to be unethical. There are certain statements I also feel that even in the conscience of their conscience, they will know that such statements are indicting by nature. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, former, is a leader of the party, of my party, the PDP, in the yesterday that I highly respected. When we had crisis in Edo, he was one of those that provided mediation. At the time, we were having the turbulence of the former governor of Edo State, Governor Obaseki, wanting to come to PDP, and we, the traditional legacy PDP people, resisting his coming into PDP. He brokered the peace, and at the end of the day, Obaseki came. What he did to us after his presence is history to be discussed another day. But again, for him, two things were very critical and germane in the statement he made yesterday. The first was a statement of his that have now shown indictment that he now owned up unconsciously that he did not perform as a governor. If you as a former governor will say that you were unable, then there was a governor in Delta before that was a governor under a PDP administration. There was also a governor which he now represented as a governor under an APC administration. To openly come up before the gallery of Nigerians to say that he did not do much for 8 years. You suddenly knew after 8 years that you did not do more.
Well, just to mention, he said he did his best, but the people of Delta State lost a lot.
My dear sister, I did my best after 8 years. You realize after 8 years that you did your best. But like I stated earlier, it is his choice to choose to go to a political party of his choice or an association he chooses to be associated with. But in most cases, it is unfortunate and uncharitable to say it is for the interest of Deltas, because there is nothing that suggests that there was a referendum that was conducted by the present administration in the state to ask the Deltas that, do you want us to go to ABC? There was no referendum of such nature. So if selected persons sit within the comfort of their room and for their own interest, known to them, not known to us, but certainly known to certain persons too, choose to jump the ship, all they would have done honorably is to say, for some reasons, I just choose to want to associate with this party, and not for any reasons that will become something that will become a moral body. People must learn to take responsibility of utterances and statements they make at time they make them. There was a statement that the commissioner in Edu made in Delta, I think some days before this, I think it was on Thursday or Wednesday, when he said PDP is now like a wine that has lost its taste, and the people of Delta have chosen to use another calabash. This is our guided state. Come on, a party that made you who you are. Who were you yesterday without PDP? Who had known you within the landscape of the Nigerian political conversation if a party had not thrown you up? A party had thrown you up. Governor Efrain Okowa started as a commissioner, a secretary to the state government, senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for 8 years, governor for 8 years under PDP, and became a vice presidential candidate in the just concluded presidential election. Come on, my dear. Let us give credence to morality sometimes. If you want to live, you live. Nobody holds you from association with whosoever you want to associate with. But again, don't do this in a way that it infracts the pains in the hearts of those persons that have cherished and loved you yesterday. You have a right as anybody. I could wake up tomorrow and say, I don't want to belong to any political party. I just want to be a Nigerian and go back to my activism as it then was. But again, I will not wake up and say PDP is useless. As useless as the structure of the party may be, I cannot say that the party is useless.
Okay, Comrade, you've raised very valid concerns, and everyone is free to defect, but you shouldn't offend the sensibilities of a party on which you grew your political career. Now, let's talking about PDP, still with the PDP. 2027 is fast approaching, and a lot of we've seen a lot of moves and maneuvering in the political sphere. And some have said, this defection, because you have people, foundational members of the PDP, you have people like James Manager, Ifeanyi Okowa that have been there for eons, now decamping to the APC. They say it's the death knell of the PDP and also PDP's internal crisis. Looking at all of this that is happening and more, do you think the PDP stands a chance to put up a formidable opposition as we inch towards 2027?
I will not go directly to say that PDP stands a chance or not to stand a chance. But two things would have thrown themselves up with the recent happenings in the party. To be honest and to be fair, the party is not in good shape. That is not pretensions. Secondly, is the party making any effort to get themselves from the shape they have found themselves? It's left for the leadership of the party to begin to think so. But at its stand at this moment, nothing suggests that that direction is being sorted. But whether PDP can stand, PDP remains one political party. In some certain regions, you can't just wish away PDP. Delta State is one of such. Yes, in the build-up to elections, a lot of things will still happen. But the beauty about these things has two edges. I was sharing with a friend yesterday, and I told them there are serious consequences on the earliness at which political campaign had started. The reason why I shared so is that it is too easy, too early for the ruling party to have just now shown to the Nigerian people their intention of wanting to grab states and make the nation a one-party system. That is dangerous to democracy, is unhealthy to democracy, and above it all, it is not in any way strengthening of national unity. People may not understand what political party does behind the scene to integrate the Nigerian people. If religion do not bring people together in this country, ethnicism would have brought people together. If ethnicism doesn't do that, political party does that. I shared yesterday on the platform and I said, have you ever wondered when PDP goes to Borno for a rally, when they mount that podium, at the time they are there on the podium, there is no Fulani, there is no Kanuri, there is no Yoruba, there is no Igbo, there is no Edo, there is PDP in Nigeria. That was a form of unity. The same venue they go to Sokoto, they are in Calabar, they are in Lagos. This is one thing behind the scenes, creates a platform for unity. But to begin to tint it towards one party system or making it a regional thing is dangerous. The second leg of it is, me as a person, I do not think there was any reason that suggests why Governor Sheriff should have left the People's Democratic Party for APC. If he had the right of wanting to support the president, which as it is today, we have not seen anybody that is courageous enough to confront the president in the 2027 general election, particularly as it stands from PDP, because we have still not put our house together. He could still assume to work with the president and remain in PDP. Let us not forget that President Bola Tinubu today was governor of Lagos State for 8 years under President Olusegun Obasanjo's administration, and a PDP-led administration in an AC, as an AC governor then. He did not leave, neither did he concede any of his territory. When he left office, he was a stakeholder, an elder statesman in the Southwest under a Jonathan Yar'Adua administration, Jonathan Architect Domadi Sambo's administration. He was still a formidable force. Why was he a formidable force? Because he kept his territory and every time he had what he can negotiate with. If you have not left the People's Democratic Party, who you control in a state, as an opposition governor to a position government in federal, and that is what you could use to negotiate. Now that you have left to join them in the party, what do you use to negotiate in the state? Because you are statutorily bound as duty of obligation to work for your party. You are not a member of the party, so you have to work for the party. So those that are in the opposition in the state now, who are the PDP you have left behind, they are the people that the government and the center will negotiate with to give them their support. So why do you throw such card away? Why do you throw it away for whatever purpose and intent? So that is why I said it is about themselves. It's about their next election. It's not about the next generation. It is not about the hardship that an average person feels in Delta. I'm not from Delta, but Delta was broken out of the old building. So we are sisters. Edo and Delta, they are brothers and sisters. That does not address what happened yesterday, does not suggest in any way a reflection of the hunger in the land in Delta. It suggests first on their own self-driven interest and ambition. Secondly, it does not in any way have a compensation that guarantees lives and properties in terms of security in Delta State. It only wants to guarantee their future and their safety. Clear, simple as ABC. So let's not deceive ourselves. Let's not be pretentious about it.
All right. I mean, we've talked about what this means for the PDP. Could you also shed light on the fact that the people of Delta State, what are they saying? I think that's what we really want to know now. You've been in the middle. You've spoken with politicians and non-politicians. But what are the people saying? Are they celebrating with the fact that the governor has moved to a new political party? Or are they indifferent? And I would like you to also touch on the fact that, does this mean that now that the governor has moved to the APC, does it guarantee that 2027 the president will also win the polls in Delta State?
My brother, election in Nigeria has taken a different dimension. Until politicians begin to realize that fact, they will still be living in the euphoria of yesterday. The people in Delta State, you may have to get some of your men foot on the ground to have a true reflection. It is different from the people that are commercialized to be on the podium. You know, statistically, once you have appointees of government, you have a government in power, whether you like it or not, the government that runs across states, runs across houses of assembly, runs across commissioners, runs across local governments. And in the local government, you have councillors, and in the councillors, you have supervisory councillors, you have SAs, you have SSAs, you have PAs, you have all ward forms, you have people in boards. You will have the stadium and you have any venue you want to have filled up. Because people benefit from these things immediately. But what follows after they walk out of that venue, it is the reality of the day. The truth is evident and it's as simple as APC. That consultation was not a reflection of debtors. That decision was not a decision that was taken by debtors, and that truth must be kept in public airspace. It was a decision and consultation that was personal, self-driven, and for the protection of self-guidance, as clear as that. The second leg of it is that whether that guarantees that President Bola Tinubu is going to win Delta is a suggestion to 2027. What I say is a suggestion to 2027 is, between now and 2027, what the average Nigerians see will be a reflection to what will lead them to the ballot. It is different from yesterday, where you put money in the hands of people and that suggests what decides their choices at the poll. 2027, certain things will burn people from their houses to the polling unit. Those things that will burn people from their houses to the polling unit will be evident in the reflection of the ballot. Some persons may be thinking that it's going to be business as usual. It will not be again. That part, the impression must be corrected, either as erroneous as it is, either by error, omission, or by commission, that people think that we just go in and it may not work again. Because hunger will push people to be wise. Insecurity will drive people to secure their votes. Bitterness and dissatisfaction of leadership failure will make people express how they feel. If Governor Sheriff is going to be a casualty in 2027, tomorrow is pregnant, and when that day of delivery comes, he will know what child will be given birth to. But I will tell you, as a personal person, as somebody that deals and dives into strong developmental policy and management, if I was Governor Sheriff, it had been better I had remained in PDP, because the danger is some person intelligent, wise, and clever will take advantage of PDP in Delta State. Don't be rest assured that one man that I know may bring up a candidate on that PDP platform tomorrow. When that candidate comes, every person that is aggrieved in Delta today because of this decision, no matter who that candidate is, they will throw behind that candidate.
Who is this one man? Who is this one man that you're referring to?
You should know that. Do you want me to mention somebody's name?
Are you referring to the aviation and aerospace minister, Mr. Festus Keyamo?
No, Mr. Festus Keyamo is not a heavyweight when I'm saying one man in Delta State. Festus Keyamo is our good friend. He's a minister that is performing. We give that credit to him. But when you are talking about the foundation of Delta, there is one man.
All right, okay.
there is just one man.
Do you want to mention his name?
How can you be tempting? I said there is just one man. When that time comes,
no, our viewers will be interested in knowing who this man is. It's not for us. It's for our viewers, millions of people watching us right now.
That is the research work for viewers, to go to that and begin to unravel who this mystery man is. Okay. That man that can pull anything behind the scene, and when he pulls, things begin to move. That man that when he says move, and things moves in Delta, there is that man in Delta.
Interesting. So, are you then alluding to, I mean, what role does the vote of the people, the choice of the people, what role does it play in politics in Delta State?
The vote of the people and the choice of the people will not be limited to the role it plays in Delta alone. It will be limited, the discussion should be what role does it play in political space. And when you say the role of the people and the role it plays, is to the extent at which those people that now holds the mandate that the people have given to them exercise the power of the mandate. First, what is mandate? Mandate is people surrendering their will to you, their rights of representation to you, their choice of leadership to you, their decision of saying that in our absence, take this decision, in our presence, take this decision. I will know whatever decision you take will be for the overwhelming generality of the people of the country, the states, the local government, and the councils. Now, but as it is in the Nigerian context today, I do not think that there is a reflection of the fact that the people's mandate, the people's wishes, or their votes first is a reflection of what is declared. Then the second aspect of it, if all the stages of litigations are overseen where there is no form of litigation again, to the highest court, which is Supreme Court, and that person becomes an authority. That person now, does the person now have what it takes to tell the people that the mandate I enjoy today has the dividend that is tied to it? The Nigerian people will tell you today, no. From the presidency, as much as I totally agree with the fact that there are a whole lot of things that the present president is trying to do, but you cannot compress so many things at the same time for one people to bear. That is the major challenge. Secondly, in bringing things for people to bear, there must be a robust conversation and engagement. People must have evidence to say this thing you want to do can work. It means there is a gap of communication. The third part of it is the fact that do people have a right to express when you say these things you want to do, you are doing them, and they say these things are not working. By expression, they say it's not working. Do you have a right to listen to their expression, or by hunting them, clamping them down, locking people, denying people rights of expression and freedom of speech? These are evidence that suggests that the people's will is no longer a reflection of those holders of their mandates. On the other part again, when you narrow it to state, you find a situation where you say the state accuses the government at the center of conducting a general election that does not have a resemblance of free and fair. And in all our states, when these governors conduct local government election, their political party wins everything. You see, just like yesterday, Governor Sheriff had left. All the local government structures left with him to the party he has gone to. Is that the reflection of the votes that he said he conducted in the local government council? When he conducted those elections in local government council, was it not under PDP that they won it? Who are the people representing them today? It's APC. Did you say that APC did not participate in that local government election? They participated. Did they win? He said they did not win because he demarcated the party then yesterday. But that is the party he has gone to today. So it is not the people, it is them. So what the people does is to come out in solidarity of the Constitution and civic responsibility to say, let us try and see if we can change the old order. The old order has failed. Now the people will look at it and say, how do we now navigate away from these people to begin to teach people and reward them, reward good for performance and reward punishment for bad governance? It will not be evident in the election that is ahead of us. So my take of this is the fact that every Nigerian, wherever you are, in whatever you do, on election, your choices of vote should be a reflection of what you desire. It should not have any emotional context. It should not be politically driven. It should not be religiously driven. It should be that I will say, what do I want amongst these images I found on this ballot, or these logos I found on this ballot? Behind which of these has true manifestos that will lead me to where we want to go to? Let's not go to ideology because there's not that ideology.
Well, I mean, it's great that you've added this and you've told the people what their responsibilities are and how they should vote. And it's interesting because reports have it. I was just, I'd read a report earlier where it was Governor Sheriff Oborevwori was quoted to have said that now that he's with the APC, he's guaranteeing an average of 1.4 million votes for President Bola Tinubu at the next election. So it's important that Deltans go.
Why is the comrade laughing? Comrade.
It's an average.
My dear sister, in 2023, on that very podium, you see that very podium they were gathered yesterday, that very podium. The same sheriff was governorship flag bearer of PDP. Okowa, immediate past governor, was the vice presidential candidate of PDP. On that same podium, they guaranteed PDP 1.5 million votes. They say 1.5 million votes they have guaranteed Tinubu now. They did not get 10%. Peter Obi won data. 10%, 10% did not get. So, my dear sister, they are free. You see, they are as free as the bird to speak and to express themselves. But the decision, they have one vote, and deltas have collective votes together as deltas. That time, when that time comes, things will happen.
Well, just to mention, to clarify, at the last elections, the reports have it that PDP got 26% of the votes in the state in the presidential elections. We also had that APC was further behind with 15% of the vote, as Peter Obi of the Labour Party took. Yes, Peter Obi took 56% of the vote.
Okay, now hold on, my dear sister, hold on. Who was the serving governor of Delta then?
Okay.
No, it's not in line. Who was the serving governor of Delta?
Yeah, the serving governor of Delta. Sorry?
The serving governor of Delta then was Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, who at the same time doubled as the vice presidential candidate.
See, I think that the message you are trying to send at the end of the day is clear. You know, what you're trying to pass across is clear. But again, what we just want to say is the people of Delta State have a lot of work to do in the coming elections. Last year, we saw that the turnout at the polls were not as impressive as many had hoped that they would be. 2027 elections, I think another final question I just wanted to ask was, do you foresee that there will be a higher voter turnout at the next elections? Because there's a fear that because there's a bit of disappointment in the minds of Nigerians with how governance has taken backseat and politics taken center stage, that there might be some measure of voter apathy. And if we don't see a large turnout, then that might give room for manipulation, which has been the order of the day in past elections. So do you foresee more people coming out at the polls this year, or at the next elections or not?
I will take two legs. The first leg, you said that the people of Delta have a lot of work to do. No, it's not the citizens of Delta that have a lot of work. It is those that have defected now, taking away the mandate of the citizens of Delta to another political platform that will have a lot of work to do, because they will have more than enormous tax that they have before to begin to convince the people that are presently angry. They have a lot of work to do to tell the people why they have jumped ship. They have more than a lot of work to do now to begin to tell the people why the people can still trust them. Because first, there is a breach of public trust. That is the clear fact that people must reckon. The second about voters' apathy. Yes, elections in and out have suggested that people are beginning to be disenchanted about how elections are conducted. But I tell you, my dear, the prevailing circumstances of what the nation is today is a propelling force upon which white people will want to vote. That thing that will drive people to vote, the momentum will increase at the end of 2016, either for good or for bad. We must not always say it's going to be bad. There may be things that may happen between now and 2016 ending, because the window period is still very long. It's 2017. We are still in 2025. That is why I said this is one of the most earliest electoral journey we are beginning to witness. We thought the last one was it, when the window period for campaign was too long. But this one, the window period for politicking has started just too early. Just midway, May 29th, will be the second year lifespan of this administration. And everything that has occupied the airspace already is 2 years away, 2027. Which one? We do not have a right to our life to do whether we'll be there till 2027. Secondly, we do not know the number of Nigerians that will still be remaining in Nigeria by 2027. A lot of them would have jackpot. Some hunger would have restricted them to one confinement, and some would have chosen out of bitterness not to want to participate as political social animals again. The third part of it is the fact that there may be suggestion of policy new directions, because we must not forget that in the history of Nigeria, there is one politician, political strategist that is now a president of this country, President Bola Tinubu, who had gone through all the institutions of political settings to become president. A former senator, a former governor, that is, he has worked through the legislative arm, through the executive arm, now sits as the general overseer of the Nigerian political space. So every good and bad of policy, he knows them. He has traded before, he has been betrayed before, he has recovered before, he's fully back today. So he knows, so some persons will call him the master of the game. But even those that master chase, people get to defeat them that are not masters. He should not be overconfident. That is the take home to him. So when that time comes, something must drive people to vote. Something will increase the presence of people at polling units. And that is where it goes back to political party. It is not INEC. It is not the duty of INEC to mobilize people to go and vote. The duty of INEC is to let people understand that there will be 100% or closeness to 100% free, fair, and credible. The most important thing is the credibility of the process. INEC just only needs to guarantee credibility of the process. It is the duty of political parties, those that cross carpet and those that remain. It is their duty to go into locus, convince people, bring them up on the reason why they need to vote. And political parties should begin to do that just now to sensitize people, to carry advocacy to the people and tell them that you must vote if you want anything to change.
All right, Comrade, we're out of time. I mean, it's been a very fruitful conversation, but I'd like you to answer in a very, very short time our last question. Is the PDP likely opened to merging with another political party in Delta State to ensure that they unseat the APC? That's one. And two, are you afraid of vote buying, which seems to be a major challenge? Bread, spaghetti, and all that is being shared.
Also.
Ankara, yes, even, and small 2-5.
Why did you choose to go Ankara? Have you given Ankara for election?
And 2-5.
Why did you choose Ankara?
Guinea fowl.
The Guinea fowl, the logo, sometimes, even now, keg of petrol. Sorry for me. I don't know if I'm just, are you worried about that?
Yeah, the reality of it is that the politicians have understood the people, and the people have still not yet understood the politicians. So politicians understand that citizens are hungry and they are vulnerable to certain things. And during elections, they may come with all forms of things to buy them. It still then depends on the conscience of every person to know that you cannot plant cassava and harvest yam. Or you cannot go to the farm and open the soil and close it and come back the next day want to harvest. So if you plant cassava, you should harvest cassava. If you want to make a thing change, you cannot collect what is given to you today and wait for another 4 years. These are gospels that people need, sensitization need to go out, and the civil society own that responsibility if they want to change the system. Whether there will be vote buying or there will be no vote buying, there obviously is going to be any form of inducement. Politicians feel that what they can do on election days, because they look always towards next election and not the generation that precedes them. Next election, how much do I keep for next election? How much am I going to be spending? They are already working towards that. And it is now the choice of the people to say, hey, come on, keep this thing. I want to do what is right. That will be just the choices and the consciences of people.
Okay.
Then the second aspect, the other one you mentioned, the first was about
a merger,
yeah. Now about the merger of political parties is not for an individual conversation. When you see individuals say that we want to merge, it is political parties are institutional and are organogram structure. It is the organ of the party that sees and says, okay, now that we are at loggerhead, can we meet with other parties for the purpose of dislodging this person? And when that agreement is reached at any time, it becomes a merger. But individual discussing it is personal interest. So for now, as it stands now, no party, the party as a structure or as organ is not discussing it from national of the party, even to our locals. They are not discussing it.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on Breakfast Central and breaking it down. It's been a very, very interesting one. And we'll look forward to have you again. Possibly we'll be discussing the road to 2027 maybe next year. Thanks for your time.
Comrade Jude Imagwe, it was a pleasure speaking with you. You didn't even tell us if you didn't tell us if you'll be running for political office or you want to keep the card close to your chest.
When that time comes.
Okay. God's time is the best, like they always say.
Thanks for your time.
The time will come when the time comes, we'll share. Enjoy the
Thank you, Comrade Imagwe.
Thank you. All right, let's tell you what's coming up next year on Breakfast Central for the second hour. Coming up next year on Breakfast Central, addressing the economic impact of solar panels. We'll take a look at that. Early 2027 campaign distracts governance, sparks controversy. That's another conversation we're going to have. River State Group backs Tinubu, calls for Governor Fubara's reinstatement. We'll have all of these stories and much more coming in a moment.
Nigerians have continued to react to the announcement by the federal government of the alleged plan to ban the importation of solar panels in the country. This was subsequently followed by another response over the presidency's budget of 10 billion naira for the installation of solar panels in Aso Rock. Experts have warned that due to economic difficulties, the federal government should rather look at supporting local businesses within the sector than clamping down on investors and business owners.
The decision is set to align with the Presidential Executive Order Number 5, which prioritizes local content in the science, engineering, and technology sectors. Let's look at the federal government's stance and the economic impact of Nigeria's solar energy business. Our guest this morning on Breakfast Central has a broad commercial experience and expertise across West and East Africa, encompassing partnership management, business process transformation, change management, strategic data-driven planning, and more in the renewable energy sector.
All right, joining us this morning.
Yes, joining us this morning.
Ogale Ariawarai. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
To be here.
Now, let's start with the elephant in the room. The minister says, you know, in order to follow the executive order number 5 of promoting local content, that we can produce the solar panels in Nigeria. So banning it will be a way of boosting local production and encouraging us to buy Nigeria. Are we putting the cart before the horse? What do you make of this policy direction? Hopefully, it doesn't become a decision very soon.
Okay. So the idea to ban the importation of solar panels and to focus on local imports is a great mid to long-term goal, right? And I can see where it's coming from because last year alone in Q4, Nigeria spent $150 million importing solar panels. So you can just look at that and say, if we take that and kept it internal, that would be great. But like you said, it's a bit like putting the cart before the horse. So we at our energy, we operate across pan-Nigeria. So we know for a fact that the local supply cannot meet the demand. And then let's even take a step back. So there are recent events that have strengthened the macroeconomic benefits of solar, right? So if we look at the fuel ban, the diesel prices, and the Band A tariffs. So that has strengthened the proposition for solar. So a lot more people are going for solar. That means that the demand is even going to increase. That will put further pressure on the local supply. So we see this as a phased approach will be a lot better. Right, we see it as a phased approach being a lot better, especially now that we have a lot of external investors looking at us. At Energy, we recently raised $18 million for our Series B, led by Cardinal Stone investors with some other global investors like BII, EDFI, BEV, Norfund, and all on. So we have investors looking at the sector. So what we should be doing right now
What's that money for?
So it's to scale solar in Nigeria. So Energy has a plan over the next 5 years to have 12,000 solar systems in the country.
Over the next 5 years?
Yes, over the next 5 years.
But how does this translate to the average Nigerian? I mean, let's look at it. If the government is about to ban solar panels, I mean, I think we're discussing about this recently. The prices have gone up. Anybody who's about to have a solar panel in their houses now, the prices are not the same.
So that's where energy comes in.
But if you, I'm sorry, I'm coming. But if you look at the pricing and then you look at the fact that solar panel is no longer the same in terms of what it used to be before, and then the government wants to ban, how does that now affect the average man in the market?
So again, like I said, that's where energy comes in. So part of the financing that we've had to scale solar in Nigeria allows us to do what we call lease to own. We have a payment structure that we call Z-Lite that allows people who can't afford the upfront cost of solar to be able to enter at very minimal cost and phase their payment across 5 years. So if we sort of translate this into the ban, there is the risk that if solar is banned and it's not done in a phased approach, the prices will skyrocket, and there'll be internal competition which will drive the cost of solar further up. So
let's hold that thought. We're going to very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking some more about the impact of the ban of the solar panels. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're now exploring the conversation about the alleged plan of the federal government to ban the importation of solar panels and the impact that this has on our country, its citizens, and also the alleged allocation of 10 billion naira for the installation of solar panels in Aso Rock. This morning, we're joined by Ms. Orali Ariaworai, who's discussing this with us. Thank you once again for being here.
Happy to be here.
All right, so now talking about the importation of solar panel, the reason that this would be, that some would argue in favor of this, is that we're trying to encourage local production, local manufacturing. Do we currently have the capacity to handle the demand of local with the local production? And if we don't, within, what's the duration or the time frame that we can expect that local production can match the demand?
Okay, so like I said, we operate pan-Nigeria, and we know that the local supply cannot meet the demand. And there are things that are happening now that is driving the value proposition for solar, meaning that the demand is even going to increase. And this is manufacturing we're talking about. So it's not something that can be done overnight. You need the right people, the right players on the table to have broad discussions, to understand end-to-end the sector, and to enable our local manufacturers to compete globally. Right, and when I say compete globally, I'm talking about for price and quality. So what would be the right framework would be something that is phased, right, that would help our local manufacturers. So give them access to financing, give them access to infrastructure, give them access to technology, because the solar technology has evolved and keeps evolving, right? If you look around the world, it keeps evolving. And then give them access to skilled labor, which is one of the challenges that we have in Nigeria. So essentially, you need a roadmap. So that's why I feel this should be a mid to long-term goal.
So if you could suggest this roadmap, what would the roadmap look like, and what would this phasing look like?
So the first part of it, obviously, would be what are the challenges in the current sector? We have inefficiencies in our supply. We have expensive raw materials, because we know that the raw materials that go into the production of solar panels a lot of times are imported. We have limited technology. We have limitations in skilled workers. So we bring people to the table. And we also have external people interested. Even the World Bank has pledged, I think, about $750 million to the scaling of solar energy in Nigeria and across Africa, I believe. So bring these people to the table, let us have discussions, and then have a planned phase. So we encourage local manufacturing, we keep up the import, and as time goes on, we put more stringent goals on importation so that it starts to reduce and our local manufacturing starts to go up. Essentially, we need local manufacturing to be able to compete and be competitive. If not, the prices for solar will go up, right? The price for solar would go up and the average person won't be able to afford it.
Realistically
That's the
speaking,
problem.
how long should this plan phase be before you can ban, ideally speaking, looking at all the factors that are needed, how long should it take? And also, okay, I'll just go with that question.
I mean, at this point in time, I can't put a time frame to it, but I think we already have a fair idea what are the challenges that we already have in that sector. So addressing them and putting, so each of them would have its own plan. So access to financing would have its own plan, access to technology, having our local manufacturers learn the technology,
also.
training, having skilled labor. If you want to have a manufacturing plant that can produce 50 megawatts of panels that would cater for the local demand in the country, you're talking mega plants, a lot of skilled labor. Do we have that available now? So each item would come with its own time frame. So we take time to implement it, and then we can grow our scale as we go. I think now we have, about 2 players or so who can do about 100 megawatts of panels, but that's still not meeting the demand. And even in terms of full utilization of that capacity, we don't have the exact numbers on how that's going. So there is a lot that has to do, but ultimately it still needs to be phased, and we still need to focus on what's most important, which is driving solar adoption, because the risk that's going to happen is that we wouldn't drive solar adoption, that would drop. And even when manufacturing goes up, there wouldn't be the interest for it. So that's why both of them needs to go hand in hand.
I think the pricing is important too.
Yes.
If we produce locally, does it automatically translate to cheaper solar panels? And why is it currently so expensive? Is it the duties?
So again, that's something else that the government can do. They can give them tax breaks for raw materials, duty-free for raw materials, having the right technology, because globally the cost of solar panels, solar batteries, solar inverters are going down because of technology. So they also need to learn this technology as well. And like I said, they would need tax break on the raw materials, they would need tax breaks on importation duties, and they would need maybe even pioneer status here in Nigeria so that they can compete in terms of price.
I mean, it's all said, but I'd like to look at it from the government aspect. The current government says, okay, there's going to be a ban, there are deliberations around it. With what we hear, I mean, we can't be confirmed that the batteries and all that is being worked on and so on. Which would you advise? Is it okay for a federal government like that of Nigeria to put a ban to what has not hit the market yet? I don't know if you get where I'm going. To put a ban on what has not hit the market yet, and then all of a sudden, wouldn't you still be depending on the international, solar panels?
So that's why we're saying that the best approach would be a phased approach, right? We build our local capability, we build our local demand.
Sorry to butt in again, but there's also another fear that let me not demarketing. The negative Nigerian factor would come in where, people would always want to cut corners. The panels, they would have to, use fake materials and so on. How do we cover all of this?
Again, so that's why it becomes a phased approach. We also need to talk about quality as well. We need to set the right quality standards for what we expect in terms of our solar products in the renewable energy space as a whole. I think for the manufacturing, because that's also new as well, I don't think that all these standards have been fully set. So that's why, again, like I said, the phased approach is important to make sure that we are competing in quality, price, and in technology.
All right. Again, let's now go to the conversation about Aso Rock trying to install solar panels. The criticism, it's not, there's been a lot of outrage on social media. There are those who say that the Aso Rock is ensuring that they're doing this, whereas the country is still grappling with the challenges of unsteady power supply and the power grid. But their reason is that they cannot sustain 47 billion naira electricity bill every year. That is not sustainable. So it's better they would do the 10 billion electricity bill. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so when we did hear the news, it is interesting. So I'll look at it from two angles. One, there is, as Nigeria as a country, we do have our SDG goals that we want to meet. And I think starting from the top down and trying to get Aso Rock to be green and embrace renewable energy is a step in the right direction. And again, the optics matter, right? Especially from the top. And when we're talking about local content, that has to come from the top. So we have to see, and this project, a government project like this, could be what we use to set quality standards. Using local manufacturing and then setting, like what you talked about, setting those quality standards in terms of what we expect from every aspect of a complete solar system. And also, we also look at solar, most times we only think about the panels, but it's an entire system that encompasses the panels, the batteries, and the inverters, and every other thing that encompasses it. So this could be an opportunity for us to set quality standards across the entire sector, right? And the government could lead this, leading from the front with a project like this.
Okay, leading from the front is a good
what about the CNG? I mean, I don't know, guys, if you remember the CNG. I mean, it's still on. We still see CNG vehicles move on, but it's hard to see a government official who has come out to say, "Oh, look at my car."
Well, some of them have.
Videos put on.
Not,
I mean, I've seen.
Yeah,
maybe the one they used to go for market runs and things like that, not official cars. But on a serious note now, are we slowly moving towards every Nigerian becoming a minister of power? Because we often have this thing we do. Bad roads, we buy SUVs. No public power, we drill boreholes. No security, we hire private guards. And now we've seen the CNG push. We're now witnessing the solar. Everyone is talking solar, solar, solar. Is it that we're not holding the minister of power or the people in charge of power responsible for providing a grid supply power? Because most European countries and in other climes, people that adopt solar is as an alternative form of energy. You can't industrialize on the back of solar. It can't power heavy-duty industrial equipment. You still need power from the grid. So do we run the danger of abandoning and saying, just giving up on electricity, that look, we'll never have stable electricity again, so let's just do with our rechargeable, because there's rechargeable everything these days, our solar panels, so we don't bother with NEPA anymore? Okay,
I'll start by correcting the misconception that you have, that we can power heavy duty.
Oh, you can?
Yes, you can. You can have 100 kilowatt systems. You can have 1 megawatt solar systems. So that by the side.
But how sustainable is that, especially because there will be times when we enter into the rainy season in Nigeria, and I mean, how sustainable is it to be totally reliant on that?
So, not being totally reliant on that, but I just wanted to correct the misconception that you couldn't power heavy machinery with solar. And like I mentioned, when you think about a solar system, it's not just the panels. We're talking about the panels, the batteries, which is the storage, and the inverters that has to do with it. So with a proper system, you can store energy that can be used when it's raining or at night to power your system. And secondly, the other question you talked about in terms of everybody becoming a power minister, I don't see it in that way, right? Solar energy is green energy, which is good for the economy. So if everybody is trying to adopt it and optimize, I think we should look for a way to make it, to scale it and to use it to the best benefits. In other advanced countries, they have things like net metering, where they take back power into the grid. When you generate excessive power, you take back power into the grid. So I think that's how we need to look at it. We are not going to abandon the grid. That's never going to be the plan. But it's how do we incorporate it and make everything a holistic system. The world is moving green, and I think it's good that Nigeria is also moving
being a part of it, absolutely.
Being a part of that. So I think what we need to look at is how do we, make everything whole.
Affordable and clean energy is goal 7 on the 17 sustainable development.
So that means the FCT is right. The Aso Rock is.
Yes, we must all try.
And even the Olive lives in Osaka. There's wind. She can adopt wind vane. There's a lot of breeze that area. No, so let's go green together. You adopt wind vane.
At least you're wearing olive green, so we are already on that path. But thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. We look forward to a Nigeria where we've embraced all the alternative means of energy. We're not focusing on what we could, our current systems right now, where we can have wind turbines. There's hydro. The island, for example, we have so much water. There's so much that we can maximize, and I'm hoping that in the nearest future we all won't have to be shouting up NEPA. the way that our children won't have to shout the way that we did. We've just had a conversation. Yes, so Miss Ogale Ariaworai, thank you for joining us this morning on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. As political campaigns heat up already, leaders appear to be shifting focus to securing votes rather than pay attention to critical policy implementations, which is gradually grinding to a halt. A situation that has left many wondering, are we sacrificing governance at the altar of electioneering? Well, to get answers to these questions, we are being joined by political analyst, Mr. Akin Bash, who joins us live in the studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
The last time we were here, we talked, if I recall, I think we spoke categorically on the issues surrounding the PDP, the APC, and so on and so forth. And now there seems to be another one that's boiling where I would say you find yourself in the center again that, we have to talk about it. Cross-carpeting, it's a major problem. And this has led to Nigerians wondering if this is true governance or it's about politicking. Because just as my intro says, this is a time when Nigerians should be enjoying the dividends of democracy after thumbprinting in 2023. But it's not looking like that. It's looking like let's see who can wrestle. Let's wrestle ourselves away and get set into the ring for 2027. What's your take on the cross carpeting and all of the hula baloo surrounding? Exactly.
Anyway, you have a choice of what you call it. But of course, when you have political parties, it's natural for them to politic. I mean, that's a clear fact. But to what extent that is allowed to affect governance, I think that's the issue. I am quite aware that there's been so much being said about cross-carpeting and all that. For me, it's not a big deal because it has always been part of our, politics. But the one that bothers me is, the common accusation that maybe the government of the day is planning to turn, the political architecture into a one-party system. And I just wonder, why should people think that a political party must help the other parties to organize themselves? So for me, I think it's a matter of how properly organized, what are the critical interests, that are playing out in different political parties. I mean, everybody has a choice to make where you go. So I see it from that angle. I don't think, for me, there is any cause to worry. And if you look at it again, that people are cross-carpeting is not new. Any government in place has always been accused, of using one method or the other to railroad to railroad some politicians into their fold. So I think it's a common phenomenon. I don't think...
Mr. Bash, look, today is 29th of April. Yeah. In exactly 1 month time, it will make it 2 years of this administration. Yeah. I know you've been politicking, you've been in politics for a long time, and I don't think, I might be wrong, that we've seen campaigns this early. The presidency had to come out at one point to say, look, we're not associated with all these billboards you're seeing. First, it's not even the second year of the presidency. We're already campaigning 2 years ahead. We're seeing billboards. It's almost like the elections are in November. That's the sort of feeling we see. I don't know if the media is guilty. I don't know what's responsible for this. But it's in the discourse, calculations for 2027, when the government hasn't even marked the second year anniversary. Has this ever happened in your memory? In your memory, do you remember any time where there's been so much anticipation for an election that is 2 years ahead? And does it have any, what are the implications of this politicking we're seeing, high-stake politicking 2 years before the elections, and who are those responsible for it?
In terms of responsibility, I think that one is clear. Each party is responsible for their political activity. And when you talk in terms of politics being in the air, of course, you equally want to look at the political space and ask yourself, why is it looking like the politics is being heated up? And if you look at the caliber of people moving from one party to the other, take for example, I mean, El-Rufai said he was quitting the APC. You know, El-Rufai is a political bigwig in Nigeria, and his own movement alone will signal so many reactions. So, I mean, if somebody is leaving a party and it's all over the place, he has joined another party, talking about their plans and all that, it is natural for other political parties to also want to respond in whichever way.
So what happens to governance?
But how has that affected governance?
I mean, they're not talking about the policy, the issues.
Who is not talking about? Who is not talking about it? Who are the people talking about? Who are the people talking about political campaigns now? Are they government officials?
Yes.
Like who?
In a way, for example, reports of the governor of Delta State who's just moved to the APC, saying that he's guaranteeing about roughly 1.4 million votes for President Bola Tinubu.
And the aviation minister, I mean, looking at the fact that Nimitz was just on strike, and there are issues in the aviation sector, he was dancing on the podium in Delta State yesterday.
Please, I don't think we need to play on unnecessary emphasis on that. It's just like
No, but it's
you just wait. It's just like organizing a media fair. And will members of New Central not go there if you have such a thing? If my political party is, if there's a movement or there's an activity of my party, what is the issue? How does the fact that the governor is dancing on the podium in a political environment going to affect, governance instead? I think it's over-exaggeration, honestly.
So you haven't responded as well to the earlier one of
Which one is that?
guaranteeing about roughly 1.4 million votes by the next election.
Hello? I can say whatever I like.
You are not the governor.
I don't need to be the governor.
Leader.
In my own capacity, you understand, in whatever political space I occupy, whatever is my role, it doesn't stop me from expressing my view. But why should you think my saying that I'm going to guarantee whatever number of votes, during the election that is coming sometimes in another 1 year or two, how does that affect his governance? It was a pure political activity, and the actors during that program are free to express their mind. I don't think that should affect governance in any form. I don't think so. Let me share this with you. Okay. You're talking about security votes and all that. I was in a program yesterday. That's Ayobo Ipaja local government, where the executive chairman, one Mr. Ladilu Waloni, was organizing, empowerment program. And election is about in the next 2 months. I remember a comment by one honorable said, while some people will be saving money for the purpose of election, this gentleman was not saving money for election. Rather, he was empowering the people. He was, repairing roads. He has just, within less than a month, he has bought ambulance and all that and all that. So I think it depends on how you look at it, and it depends on who is the actor to determine what responsibility on his neck, and now he wants to determine the responsibility. So I do not think that somebody is saying you want to guarantee someone's vote. Okay, what do you want him to say? It's just you leaving New Central to another another media house. When you get to such a place, would you want to let your employers or your new environment know the kind of
I'm glad you changed the word, because the employers in this case are the citizens, not the
No. I'm making reference. If you shift base now to join another media house, when you get that, wouldn't you let them know the quality you're bringing in? Wouldn't you let them know the value you want to offer? That's what you're saying.
No, I think it's a bit different in that case, because as a media person, I'm getting, I'm here to do my job, and I owe the public giving them information, but they didn't put me here. With government officials, it is the citizens that put them there, so they're accountable to the citizens, and not necessarily about political parties. But let's move the conversation to another line. The APC, what would you say about Nigeria's political parties and the seeming lack of ideologies? It feels like at the end of the day, the ultimate aim or the ultimate goal is to grasp power. What really is happening to ideological political participation? It doesn't seem like we have any of that again.
Yeah, you see, when people talk about ideology, I often ponder what exactly they mean. What's ideology? For me, governance is all about putting the right projects in place, projects that will impact on people's life. In those good old days, you had the socialist ideology, you had the other one. But even in places like the USSR then, in Russia and all that, I'm not sure anybody is thinking about ideology now. Everybody's looking at what are the challenges in the environment, you understand? So for me, ideology may not be an issue, you understand? Maybe you may want to say that there is need for more principled and institutionalized position as far as movement of politicians from one political party to the other. But unfortunately, there's that lacuna in the Constitution, you know, that allows even the law, you understand, to wriggle out, for example, how many politicians have been recalled when they move base? Almost nil. Whereas some people tell you that there's a provision in the Constitution that says that when you are moving,
you have to vacate your seat.
But, I mean, you also want to remember that there's also this provision that says that where in your party there are crises, there's a problem, you can move. So the question is, what kind of problem that should be good enough to qualify you to move? I think that's, you know,
and I think what my colleague was trying to say with regards to ideologies, we've had ideological politics in Nigeria, the days of the Action Group, ACNC, NEPU, and others. You could tell the base that these ones were for free education, they were socialist driven. But right now it seems the vision is blurred. We can't really tell a party from another party because they've cross-carpeted so many times you don't even know where they belong. And it seems all that matters right now is personal interest. And all politicians you see on TV, on their campaign trail, is just sound bites. And that's the danger they see in our democracy, that when would they, we need to have a reset where they will understand that, look, we're here to serve the people. And it seems the people are just going with the wave and the bandwagon.
People will naturally go with the wave because that is the wave, you understand? It's just like being, I mean, a riverside. Wherever the wave is blowing, that's where people will go. You know, I'm happy you went back to UPN days and all that. But since then, what ideology have you seen everywhere?
But is it good for our democracy and the quality of governance for the people?
You see, for me, I am not a serious advocate for ideology. Okay, let me ask you, what ideology is being practiced in America? What ideology is, I mean, it's just description, conservative label and all that, but look at what is happening in America today. How do you explain Trump's activities, his policies?
Well, he said Trump has come with, let's call it an ideology, where he says it's America for America.
Exactly.
America first.
It stands for
meaning
something.
that, and he's putting it into action. Like, if you're not an American, you're not first place, you're not our focus. Our primary focus is for Americans.
And even American foreign policy will be in their
let's just look at it.
Let me ask
let's
you
adopt
this.
that.
How well are Americans taking what Trump himself is doing?
Well, okay,
are there no protests? So you can't call that an ideology because Trump, for now, is disrupting almost everything all over the world.
So, I mean, he said he's a disruptor. So,
can that be an ideology?
You know,
so if it's an ideology, is there an ideology that is good for everyone?
But let's also look at it from this aspect. The aspect is, I think, with all this question, if we're to narrow it into one big fat question, the point is, what do you know a political party for? Basically, it's no longer what it used to be. If you have a political party running to ensure that it handles the affairs of the nation, you could pinpoint and say, okay, fine. I'm sure this political party is known for road construction, like Benga said, yes, education, social welfare, and so on. But let's be honest, Mr. Bash, you can agree with us that the current take-home salary cannot even guarantee the meal of a family of 2, talk less of 5. And yet there are social welfare packages that are not even in existence. So the question is, what are Nigerians really waiting for? And what's the ideology that could actually take Nigerians away from the current situation? I think that's just the bottom line.
Let me go back. That I don't think is an issue of ideology.
All right, go ahead, please.
Any government ordinarily, there should be social welfare, education. It depends on how the government says it. And when you talk about free education, freed up to what level? I know that there is free education in Nigeria up to some level. Do you get that? So I equally know that not every government in place, either at the local level, either at the state level, or at the national level, are living up to expectation, even living up to the provisions of their manifesto. It's a clear fact. You understand? So while there are some who are equally trying the bait, you get that? So it's a general problem, honestly. And how I wish that you know, people's votes will so matter in a way that you can always reject any government that you think is not in line, you know, with.
But that's also difficult now, because people are saying that it seems almost non-existent that an independent body is no longer independent, which is INEC, where the last election we've seen where result sheets had been, you know, doctored, scattered. Even what was put on the IREV is no longer what was seen when it came to real time. So how do you think Nigerians can really have trust in an independent body that is truly not looking like it's independent?
I don't know. It depends on the way you look at it. But the fact is this. Even where INEC has performed below par, there has always been, I mean, we have seen people whose victory or failure has been upturned at one level or the other. Do you get that? But to what extent has the judiciary been seen to be fair, been seen to be neutral? I think that was the question. It's not in totality that the judiciary is not working. No. And it's not in totality that you see INEC is not performing also. There may be one or two. Okay, look, okay, some people will tell you that when Trump came around, that the election in America was manipulated. I'm sure you know that. So if election is manipulated in that place, I don't see it as a particular problem. But the intensity and the volume of, I mean, the level of fairness, I think, is the question. No one can say that everything is right here.
Okay.
There's need for more improvement. But I think a lot would depend on institutionalization of policy, you understand, principles and practices that can take, I mean, that can bring politicians to be more accountable, you know, to the people. And where they're not, there should be a way of really, you know, getting them to realize that they've not done well.
I really don't know how that way, you know, what that way would look like, where we can hold the politicians to account. But maybe we'll figure it out before the end of the conversation. But I want to talk about the decamping again. We're seeing more people decamping to the APC. These same people, 2 years ago, thought the APC was a disaster. What has changed? Would you say it's a principle or a stomach infrastructure? What do you think has changed?
If a governor leaves a party, that can't be a stomach infrastructure issue. It depends on his own interest.
Okay,
the
maybe stomach infrastructure is not the word. So is it principle or is it personal selfish interest?
I won't be able to answer that,
I mean,
because I'm not the one involved in it.
A lot of this politicians are dodging all sorts of fleeing from prosecution.
EFCC.
There's a number of them that have cases, and we've seen evidence that once they move, it's almost like the EFCC forgets.
Even just to add, sorry to butt in.
Yes.
Even the lights are beaming now on the former Delta State governor who has just moved, who has a case with EFCC. And like my colleague here had spoken yesterday on Which Way Nigeria, dropping a list of persons who have all of a sudden moved, where, I mean, you and I know that even a former comrade, you know, turned politician and now a senator had said once you move to the current party, your sins are forgiven.
He also said that EFCC has a way of using deodorant for cases that are of the ruling party and insecticide for the opposition party.
Anyway, I didn't hear him, but
In Yoruba, they say Oropo.
You know, people, you see, the point is this. Is there any governor in Nigeria that doesn't have a case? Forget about the party. There's no. Or it's almost nil that you have that. Do you get that? Because it's also not impossible. You understand? It's just like, I mean, you and me, if we are friends, you understand, or we share some relationship, the way I'm likely to look at you will be different from the way I'm going to look at her, that we have a relationship. You understand? It's unfortunate. Do you get that? Yeah, it's been in the air. It's been said over and over, and it is not impossible. You understand? That the system, one way or the other, might appear to be favorable in some circumstances. You can't rule that out. That's the truth.
All right. As we count down to the elections in 2027, would you say that so far, I mean, in 1 month, it will be President Tinubu's second year, would you say that the APC has fared well? And as such, you think they deserve another chance in 2027?
I think that's too early for anybody to conclude.
So have they fared well in the first 2 years?
So far, I think they have.
If the people of Nigeria say that they have a different reality?
It depends. Which people of Nigeria? What's the percentage? Who is talking exactly?
Are you denying that there's a great level of suffering? Are you denying the fact that...
From my statement, I've not denied the fact that
No, I'm asking. I'm not saying you have. I'm asking.
Do you get that? But you see, I said it depends on who is talking. We're
talking about the majority of Nigerians. We're not talking about the elite. We're talking about the middle class, those in the lower class.
What class are you?
I don't even know if I have a middle class anymore. I used to be middle class.
We're now being pushed.
Forget about makeup. I don't know if I'm saying
the lower class is being pushed to the bottom.
You see, the truth is this. Things are not as good as they should be. That's a fact. Look at it this morning. I called on my mechanic yesterday to help me service my car. And by the time he came back with the figures, I said, must you actually go for this? In the past, I mean, I would have, overlooked it. So, I mean, even at my own level, the economy is affecting all of us.
So that's an indictment on...
It's not, for me, it's not an indictment because I remember who was talking recently. He said, fine, things are tough. But are we hopeless? That's the truth. Are we hopeless? We're not hopeless. That is the truth. But of course, everybody is saying the government should, do more.
Step up.
And quickly to elevate.
I mean, you say we're not hopeless. There definitely is the renewed hope agenda, and it will be in the best interest of every Nigerian that the renewed hope actually renews our hope.
But hope is not a strategy.
Yes,
a wise man once said.
Yeah.
That hope is not a strategy. I remember.
In the words of...
you can't bank on hope. You need policies and decisions and
actions.
And actions.
Right.
Yes.
For every claim, like the Trump thing that says, what's
America first.
America first. I mean, there must be policies, there must be activities to push that.
Well, 1 month from today, we're going to be marking the second year of President Bola Tinubu, and of course, we'll be reviewing conversations leading up until that to see the performance of the current administration, expectations for the next 2 years, and the expectation for the 2027 elections. Mr. Akin Bash, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Let's now share with you what's still to come on Breakfast Central. Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Olive Emodi. We begin the news with the story of the death sentence on Peter Nwachukwu, husband of the late gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu. A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, has sentenced him to death by hanging. Justice Njideka Nwosu Iheme found him guilty of culpable homicide which led to the death of his wife on the 8th of April 2022. The court held that the prosecution had satisfactorily proven its case against Nwachukwu. He was arraigned on the 3rd of June 2022 by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation on behalf of the federal government on a 23-count charge. The charges include culpable homicide punishable by death, criminal intimidation, cruelty to children, and spousal battery, among others. Let's now move on to political matters, where Vice President Kashim Shettima on Monday led the team of top party leaders, including APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, to Delta State to officially welcome Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, his predecessor Ifeanyi Okowa, and the entire PDP structure in the state to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. At the event held in Asaba, Oborevwori said the decision to join the APC followed extensive consultations with stakeholders across the oil-rich state and was inspired by President Bola Tinubu's demonstrated love and commitment to Delta. In the same vein, Kebbi State Governor Nasir Idris has dismissed rumors suggesting that he and 4 other governors are planning to defect from the All Progressives Congress. The governor described the reports as malicious fabrications by what he called unserious political comedians, responding to social media speculation linking him to a coalition led by by former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Idris reaffirmed his loyalty to the APC, declaring he is made in APC, by APC, and for the APC. Meanwhile, the National Working Committee of the leading opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, has scheduled a meeting for Tuesday to address the wave of defections and other internal crises that have plagued the party over the past years. The storm had been long speculated before the dramatic defection of the PDP's former vice presidential candidate, Ifeanyi Okowa, the Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oborevwori, and the entire PDP party structure in Delta State, one of the former ruling party's strongholds. Delta State Deputy Governor Monday Onyeme, state commissioners, local government chairmen, and the state's grassroots machinery all moved en bloc to the APC after a closed-door meeting in Asaba last week. Let's now head to Kano State, where the embattled Emir Aminu Ado Bayero has appointed his elder brother and Wamban Kano, Sanusi Ado Bayero, as the Galadiman Kano. The appointment comes days after Emir Muhammad Sanusi II named Manir Sanusi to the same prestigious position traditionally reserved for princes of the Kano Emirate. The latest appointment, detailed in a letter dated the 21st of April 2025 and signed by Senior Administrative Officer Awaisu Sanusi, invites Sanusi Ado Bayero to the Nasarawa Palace, a mosque, on the 2nd of May 2025 for his official installation. Emir Sanusi II, who was reinstated to the throne in June 2024 amid intense political controversy, had earlier approved the elevation of Manir Sanusi to the Galadima title following the death of Abbas Sanusi, the previous Galadiman Kano. The late Abbas Sanusi, a highly respected elder of the emirate, passed away in March 2025 after a prolonged illness, leaving vacant one of the emirate's most senior and symbolic titles. And now to security matters. More than 100 villages in Zamfara State have been deserted due to relentless banditry, displacing over 300,000 people. The armed groups have abducted and killed an estimated 9,200 civilians in the northwest region since 2019. Senior state officials who confirmed this noted that no official IDP camps exist in Safe Mada, Zumi, or Tsunami towns of Zamfara State. During the 2025 Ramadan, the government and donors provided food and cash to IDPs, but officials urged the state to create official camps urgently to address the crisis. And that's all we have this morning on Breakfast Headlines. We'll now head back to Breakfast Central after this break. I am Olive Emodi.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's go straight to the papers. Our guest joins us, and drum roll for the publisher of the Village newspaper, Mr. Akin Bash.
I see what you did there.
The great one.
Do you know that song?
Of course, I'm sure he was being called that name at some point. Maybe. I'm very sure. Maybe when you were in the UK, they see you, oh, what's your name? And then they repeat that song to you.
It's good to have you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm sure the papers today would, we can't wait to have your input. So let's start off with the very first one. Let's go straight to the leadership. Very juicy front page there. At the top, court sentences Osinachi's husband to death by hanging. By the way, I saw your post on that, on your the niche, and I was able to go through it when you reported this news as well. Bandits abduct Kaduna district head's wife and daughter. Tinubu APC firm grip on inherited PDP structure. Grant waiver to defectors, say you are not tenants. In APC, Shatima Gandhi receive Oborevwori, Okowa, others into party. Defections exaggerated, won't deter coalition. Rufai replies them. Gunmen killed 10 at Benway drinking joint. Oof. And 37 blind candidates sit for jam in Bauchi. That's another one. INEC asked NAS to expedite action on legal framework. Let's focus on court sentencing Osinachi's husband by death, to death by hanging. One story that got a lot of people cheering. What was your take on that?
Well, like you said, a lot of people were happy yesterday when that judgment came. It was like people were expecting that. I don't think also that there was any other way that judgment would have come, because the evidence was so overwhelming against the accused, who is now a convict. I've also argued here on this station that I'm not particularly a fan of the death penalty. The question you ask yourself, what do you do in a situation where someone takes another person's life? Do you go for the biblical eye for an eye kind of retribution in Judaism, or do you go for other forms of punishment, life imprisonment and all that? Look, no matter how you look at it, this is a very, very sad and ugly saga that we're dealing with. Don't forget that there are children in all this. They have lost their mother. Now, if this judgment is executed, they are also going to lose their father. They are going to become orphans. But that is also not to detract from the fact that the man was not also good to his children, because he also maltreated his children as much as he maltreated the wife until he died. The bigger issue we should be dealing with, for me, is what we do. Look, I've always also argued that marriage should not be a death sentence. If you are in a relationship that is not working out well, step out. Leave that marriage. It is better that you are alive and not married than that you are dead. In any case, if you are dead, you are no longer married. So what are you going to protect? There is this issue, you know, we take religion to very absurd levels. And part of the reason why Osinachi remained in this relationship, despite its abusive nature, was because what are people going to say? If you die, people are still going to say something. If you are alive, people are still going to say something. So why do you live your life waiting for the validation of others who don't have any stake in what you are going through? If that woman had stepped out of that marriage as she ought to have done, at the time she ought to have done it, perhaps she could have been alive today. So the bigger lesson for me is that marriage is not a death sentence. If it's not working, it's not working. And whenever a marriage sours and becomes abusive, the best thing, whether for a man, whether for a woman, because it's not necessarily against women in all cases. We've also seen men that have been murdered, starved to death now by their wives. Yeah. The best thing is to call it quits. You guys can even remain best of friends ever after. There are situations where living together becomes very, very inconvenient. And when you live apart, you find out that you have better relationship now going forward. And you guys can jointly take care of your children and all that. But everybody remains alive, everybody remains healthy, and life goes on. And life goes on. So it is a very tragic thing. Nigerians didn't expect anything less. They said it is a well-deserved common pass. The man got what he bargained for, but it is sad for everybody.
Really sad. I mean, like you've mentioned, sad for everyone, sad for the kids, sad for Osinachi, whose dreams have unfortunately just been cut short. But let's now move to the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune paper, we cannot face Tinubu in 2027 to work against him, Delta governor says. We'll come back to that, but Vatican announces May 7 to elect new pope. UTME says no rescheduling of exams for candidates This is, of course, a statement from JAMB. They've arrested over 40 candidates for impersonation. Naira redesign, court strikes out 1 billion naira suit against Buhari, Emefiele, CBN. World Bank water projects fail in Nigeria, scarcity lingers. Let's talk about the big story. We cannot face Tinubu in 2027 to work against him, Delta government says. Explains why Delta cannot remain in opposition for almost 10 years. Mass defections of Delta PDP to APC, a political tsunami, Tinubu says. I'm not bothered by defection of governors to APC, El Rufai says.
We cannot face him to work against him.
Exactly. We'll come to talk about this, but I believe we have Israel who's joining us this morning. Good morning, Israel.
Israel Oborevwori, are you there?
All right, we'll come back to connect with Israel, but I want us to talk about the story. Of course, because of the mass defections we've been seeing in Delta State, current governor, former governor have defected, and in response to the defection, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa said that he had been in the opposition for, all through his time in governance, as a governor rather, and that he tried his best, but they kept losing, right? So do you think that this is a move? He said he's doing it for the benefit of the people of Delta State so that they can be connected to the resources in Abuja. So do you genuinely believe that this is in the interest of the people of Delta State?
Well, former governor of Delta State, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, who was also the vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 presidential election, knows that he's lying to himself. And the worst lie is to deceive yourself. Okowa did not join PDP, and Oborevwori did not join PDP, the governor of Delta State, because of the people. They joined APC because of their own political interest. But of course, Nigerian politicians will always couch all their actions and inactions along, we are doing it for our people. What Governor Sheriff said, that they can't face Tinubu and oppose him in 2027, it doesn't make sense to me. What has facing Tinubu and opposing him in 2027 mean? Is he in the first place supposed to support Tinubu as a member of the opposition party in 2027? Look, these things don't make sense. And this logic of we can't afford to be outside Abuja also does not make sense. For crying out loud, this is a federalism. States are not necessarily, these are federating states, and they have their powers derived from the Constitution as much as the federal government. You don't have to be attached to the apron strings of the federal government for you to make an impact. And where this becomes very, very ridiculous. The same people that are saying, no, you can't afford to be in opposition, no, you must align yourself with the center. The man they are aligning themselves with, President Bola Tinubu, was in opposition for more than 16 years. In 1999, he was elected on the platform of Alliance for Democracy. And even when in 2003, then President Olusegun Obasanjo succeeded in corralling the other 5 governors of the APC, of the AD, into supporting his second-term ambition. Tinubu was the only man who said no. And because he said no, Tinubu was able to retain Lagos State. The others, or Shoba and everybody, they lost their states. Now, when AD collapsed, Tinubu funded Action Congress. And from Action Congress, it metamorphosed into Action Congress of Nigeria. ACN. So for 16 years, when PDP held sway, Tinubu remained in the opposition. Did that stop Lagos from making any improvement or from developing? after all the things they credit to Tinubu as having achieved in Lagos State, he achieved it under the platform of a political party that was in opposition to the government at the center. So all these shenanigans, all this, they don't make sense. They didn't join APC because of the people. They joined the APC because of their own selfish political calculations, which have nothing to do with the people.
All right. Let's, we have our man who's on ground. We'll come back to this conversation looking at the papers. We do understand that our man is on ground, Israel Oborevwori. There is a walk for polio that's ongoing. It's in conjunction with the Lagos State government and UNICEF. And most importantly, Israel is, it's about an advocacy, a walk for polio, a major highlight of the 2025 World Immunization Week and, of course, the Polio Week activities. Israel, good to see you. Can you give us an update on what's really going on concerning this advocacy work?
Immunization Week, and just before you guys came to me, there was a walk. The walk is still ongoing right now, but what you can see right now is no longer the walk. They've walked past this place already, so they've walked further down. But it's all about awareness, creating awareness for the World Immunization Week. UNICEF, the Lagos State governments, they all came together, stakeholders as well, national rulers, just those that matter to ensure that this message gets to where it needs to get to.
Right.
But real quick now, let's just...
if you can hold that thought, for 30 seconds, we have to go on a very quick ad break. When we come back, we'll have you speak to the UNICEF head to give us full details on what the walk is about.
So now that you're talking is better. So all the time when you talk to us, it's our feedback that we hear, not you. So we just hear us talking. So this is...
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Our correspondent, Israel Oborevwori, is on standby to bring us updates regarding the polio walk that the Lagos State government is handling in conjunction with UNICEF. Over to you, Israel.
So it's the World Immunization Week. Lagos State government, in conjunction with UNICEF, putting this together as a flag of the World Immunization Week. It's an awareness program to ensure that no one is left behind as regards to the eradication of polio in Lagos State and indeed in Nigeria. Real quick now, let's talk to the UNICEF chief here in Lagos, Sele. She's right here with me. Sele, good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is News Central Television.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So quickly, tell us, today is a flag off. Talk to us about it.
So this week is World Immunization Week, and today we're flagging off the campaign together with the Walk for Polio that we've organized with Lagos State governments. We were here this morning with the First Lady of the States, together with the wife of the Deputy Governor, UNICEF and WHO, all the representatives of communities, religious leaders, the parents and the children. What's important for us during this week, during this walk, is more than awareness. It's about educating parents to health and what matters for health. Vaccines are a very, very powerful tool to keep our children alive, to save them from dying from preventable diseases. That's what we need. Together, we were looking for commitment from the government to commit. We will do until there is no more zero-dose children, no more unvaccinated children. We cannot leave a single child unvaccinated to die from a preventable disease, something we should have prevented. We should have kept that child alive. So we want to debunk rumors. We want to stop misinformation. Together with commitment, with government, we're making this commitment to make sure that every single parent is educated to health and the health of their child.
Talk to us about vaccine hesitancy. I hear is still a problem here.
It's still a problem in remote areas, sometimes not even in such remote areas. Vaccine hesitation, vaccine misconstruction, vaccine misinformation, rumors are still a reality, even in these Lagos. So it is important to understand that vaccines since the late 70s have saved more than 150 million lives. That means 6 lives per minute for the last 5 decades. It's a huge, powerful tool. Vaccines save lives. But to do that, you need to vaccinate your children, and you need to vaccinate them well. We're doing a campaign at the moment. We're bringing the vaccines to the households, to the parents, for their children to be vaccinated. But some vaccines take 1 jab, some vaccines take 2 jabs, some vaccines take 3 jabs. If you don't, as a parent, if you're not accountable for taking your child back to the PAC to have the 2nd jab or the 3rd jab, to make sure that your child is completely free and protected from those diseases, you have failed to protect your children, and you have wasted precious vaccines for other children. That is very important to understand.
What more do we need to know as you flag off this campaign?
Polio is resurging at the moment in Nigeria and in some other countries. So vaccinate your children against polio. Today, it's a 1-drop, very well-known vaccine. No stinging, no needle, just 1 drop. Very effective to prevent polio. Nigeria was polio-free a few years ago. It was declared polio-free. The virus is currently resurging. It takes 1 person to be infected by polio for 200 people around in the communities to take the risk, to be at risk of being infected and therefore being paralyzed by polio. Just take that 1-drop vaccine. Take your children to take it. It's a 1 shot. It's not even a shot. It's a 1 drop. It's an easy one. It's accessible. It's available. And at the moment during the campaign, it's at no cost. Please make sure as parents you protect your children against polio and you take them to be vaccinated.
Well, indeed, the message is clear. Make sure you vaccinate your children. It is very, very important. Something very key that Celine just said. There is a resurgence of polio in Lagos and indeed in Nigeria. And that's why this awareness is really, really important. Well, the work is still ongoing. It started from the governor's, from the wife of the governor's office. And we're heading down all the way here in Ikeja, and we'll try to get to so many places as we can as we drive the message that no child must or should be left behind in terms of polio eradication. But that's all for now from here. Back to you, Joe.
All right. Thank you so much, Israel. Well, it also shows that, like she said, it's 1 shot. It needs to be taken. And I'm worried. She said there's a resurgence of polio again in Nigeria. It's starting to...
I thought we were done.
Yeah, I thought we were, but she just confirmed that there seems to be a resurgence, and that got me wondering.
So it's important parents take their children for
very important.
Like drops,
Of
no
course.
longer
jabs as well. I beg your pardon. Okay. Let's,
I was trying to make a point about the defections in
Delta
State and why they don't add up at all. But beyond what I have said, let us even go to
the excuses of those who defected don't add up. Okay.
They don't at all. But let us even go to one point which people are missing. Look, democracy is derived from this Greek word demokrasia. It is gotten from 2 Greek words, demos, which means people, and kratos, which means rule or power. So literally, what democracy means is rule of the people or power of the people. It was a system of governance in the Greek city-states in the 5th century, particularly in Athens, where literally, if we go back to what Abraham Lincoln said of government of the people, by the people,
for the people.
For the people. And why am I saying this? We miss a very important ingredient of the so-called democracy we practice in Nigeria, which is that the people decide who governs them. Now, in winning election, there are people who vote. There are two tendencies that people vote for. There are people who vote for political parties, and there are people who vote for individuals. If you ask me, I would say that those who vote for political parties and they believe that the manifesto of a political party will take them to a better place, they are more in number than those who vote for individuals. In 2023, I'm not too sure. Yes, Oborevwori was the Speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly for some time. But you can count on your fingertips those who voted for Oborevwori because he was Oborevwori. Because nobody knew him, so to say. Many people voted for PDP as a political party because PDP had been the bastion of Delta State has always been there for the PDP since 1999. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you say you have taken the votes of the people, the power given to you by the people, and you transfer it to another political party that the people did not vote for, where does that leave the people? Those who voted because of PDP and those who voted on behalf of a political party. Now you have left them in the lodge. It is morally wrong for people to wake up in the morning. And you know, when the presidency tries to draw this moral equivalence, like Mr. Bayo Onanuga did in the statement he issued a couple of days ago, saying that it smacks of hypocrisy when former governor of Kaduna State, Malam El-Rufai, moves over to SDP, nobody complains. And then when some people move over to APC, people complain. There is no moral equivalent there because El-Rufai is an individual, a free citizen. He carries no mandate of anybody. So if he decides as a person to say that he's going to port, not to use the Nigerian slang now, to port from his party, APC, to another party, SDP, it is himself alone. But these people are in government, still carrying the mandate of the people, and it is morally wrong for them to take that mandate without the consent of the people.
It's almost like the people are an afterthought here.
Exactly, without the consent of the people
who joined us
and moving to another political party.
And yet they say it's the people that sends them that they had to move. And the guest said, did they confront or...
Well, maybe not necessarily that the people send them, but they're doing it in the interest of the people. But,
he drank from one... Governor Sheriff said he drank from one calabash and he drank from another calabash, so you can tell...
For you to say that it is the wish of the people, you must have a referendum where you now go back to ask the same people who voted for PDP to say, we want to take the mandate you gave to us, to take the mandate you gave to PDP, we want to transfer it to APC. Do we have your consent to do that? Because that is what democracy is all about. You can't continue doing all these political maneuverings on your whims and caprices and come out to say it is in the interest of the people. The way these guys are going, sooner than later, they're going to crash this so-called democracy, and it will be very, very sad that the people who have benefited from none of these characters, except perhaps President Tinubu, none of them, where we are there in 1999, 1998, when people were in the trenches, at least I was in the news magazine then. At least I knew what we went through. Bayo Onanuga can say the same thing. But where are all these Nakaratas who are masquerading now? Many of them were carrying bags for the military, for Abacha. Yet they are the greatest beneficiaries of the battle for which people laid down their lives. Don't forget, in the same 2023 election, some people died in Delta State fighting for PDP to win this election. Now you are spitting on their graves, taking the mandate they gave to PDP and transferring it wholesale to another political party without betting an eyelid, and you are telling us it is the wish of the people. The wish of the people, how?
So how should the people respond?
If the people have...
I mean, we're sure that there will be bread and spaghetti as well.
A voice.
I mean, they can forget in 2 years. 2 years is a long time from now, so it's not like elections are next week.
Benga, and that's the irony, that's the dilemma that we are in. If it is a situation where the votes of the people count, of course, there will be repercussions. But votes don't count. And in 2027, it is even going to be more so that there will be no credible, free, fair elections in Nigeria. Because if there will be, look, people market themselves, leaders. And why leaders work so hard, particularly in their first term, is to have something they will bring to the table to say, look, these are the achievements we have made. Where is it? I doubt, even those in government, if there is any Nigerian who will say that he's better off today than he was on May 29th, 2023, when Tinubu became the president. All the indices of development, no matter what they tell you, all the indices of development, and I challenge anyone to tell me what has improved since President Bola Tinubu became president on May 29, 2023.
I mean, they're going to tell you a whole lot.
Like what?
Student loans,
CNG,
tax reforms,
77,000 naira,
for
70,000
NYSC
naira, members,
CNG adoption.
a reduction in the pump price of petrol after the initial increase because subsidy was gone.
And Dangote refinery.
You know what? We need to wrap up, really.
It wasn't the government that built Dangote refinery. In fact, if anything, Dangote has been battling this same government to survive. If not that he is Dangote, that refinery would have gone under on the weight of what the government has done since in the last almost 2 years. So all these things they are saying, now,
there are no achievements.
Now you did a policy that increased the pump price of petrol from about 200 naira to over 1,000. Now it is 900 in some places, and you say, oh, we have achieved. Is that what achievement is all about? Exchange rate has jumped from about 500 naira before you came in to almost 2,000. Now it is 1,500, 1,600, and you say, we have achieved. We can continue deceiving ourselves. We can continue lying to ourselves, but this is no way to make progress. They tell you in the president's speech last time, and I was here.
Yeah, I remember. Almost a year now.
Yes. He did say that they have attracted how many billions of dollars foreign direct investment. Where is it? He did say things are looking up. Where is security now? Are you safer today? Are Nigerians safer today than they were before President Tinubu came to office? What are those achievements that you can bring to the table and say, this is, or these are the things we've achieved in the last 2 years? And moving forward, this is where we want to take the country. Now,
I guess May 29 is around the corner, exactly, and on that day would X-ray all of this.
We can even post to our audience. You can let us know on Twitter,
there's going to be a poll.
At News Central TV, you know, what your thoughts are about the current administration so far. We'd like to read from you. Thank you for
Thank you very much for coming. But, I mean, if I could give you expo ahead of May 29, one achievement is that they've been able to go green and use renewable energy in our
Let's not get into that conversation. We've had it before, but let's not, because we need to get out of the studio. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our audience, our viewers, as many who have been a part of the show, as well as our guests. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Joe Hansen, and I'm telling you to join us tomorrow. Jasiri is up next, by the way. And I'm Benga Abura. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys for always being great partners.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr.
And thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
And thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.